It's the most enjoyable desert island survival I've ever seen, and they've grilled a harpoon over a charcoal fire, and they've got endless stinging bites.
Cooking over the charcoal fire, we had plenty of grilled fish to eat daily and made it through the 21 days. They earned $100,000. This challenge happened on a deserted island in the Guaya River, Brazil, where two strangers tested their survival skills. Surviving 21 days on a deserted island, Tenny, a petite and cute woman, and Nathan, who may look scruffy and thin but is quite capable, faced the challenge together. If Tenny wants to make it here, she'll need Nathan's help.
The Guaya River in Brazil is full of giant anacondas.
There are more crocodiles than piranhas, and the water is full of stinging creatures that can be deadly if they get you.
If you sting it, it could be deadly for it too. It's all about survival of the fittest.
Tenny has a lot of wilderness adventure experience, but this is his first time on a tropical deserted island. Nathan, being a local, brings a wealth of primitive survival skills.
When they meet, Tenny, who was originally small and cute, suddenly seemed tall and formidable. Nathan brought a machete and a fire starter.
He intended to impress Tenny at night by brandishing the machete like a warrior.
Tenny had an iron pot with her.
They were on a deserted island in the river. Nathan chose to build a shelter in the more open area on the other side, thinking it would offer better resources. Even though the island is small, it's packed with dense thickets and thorny plants that can easily prick you. Every step here is risky. Tenny accidentally stepped on a thorn, and it was excruciatingly painful. Besides the thorny plants,
there are also many ant nests. Finding a suitable shelter here is really tough. Nathan's machete proved to be extremely useful in this situation.
They made it to the island's center, where the area was more open.
Boiling water became their top survival priority.
They dug a big hole with a hollow base to help the fire burn better. Luckily, the dry conditions made starting a fire a breeze. Next, they built a shelter, making full use of the dead trees around them to construct a wooden bed.
The island's intense heat made dehydration a real threat. Nathan was very worried that Tenny might drop out due to dehydration.
Let's see if the water's ready. As it boils, Nathan arranges leaves on a wooden frame for a bed.
It looks pretty good. Nathan brought over the boiled water, and Tenny quickly gulped it down. He must have been extremely thirsty. That first night,
Tenny started vomiting like crazy, probably because the water wasn't very clean. The sound was like a pig being slaughtered.
Luckily, it wasn't serious.
As they slept, mosquitoes tormented Tenny while Nathan snoozed peacefully beside him.
It seems locals do have some natural perks.
That night, Tenny was startled by a wild beast's roar. It scared him nearly to death.
They couldn't sleep until a small wild boar showed up.
Only then did they feel safe enough to sleep.
Early in the morning, Tenny drank some water, seemingly forgetting how he vomited last night.
The mosquitoes are unbearable, so repelling them is today's top priority.
Nathan decided to add a roof to the shelter.
He planned to light a fire outside and blow the smoke inside, which would repel mosquitoes and smoke some meat.
Hopefully, they wouldn't end up smoked like jerky.
Once the shelter was done, Tenny felt much better sleeping inside.
Night came, and unexpectedly, the smoke didn't blow into the shelter. In the cramped space,
the mosquitoes bit them even worse, like locking the door and letting in biting dogs. They had no choice but to sleep outside the shelter.
The nighttime insects tortured Tenny. By the third day, Nathan finally felt hungry.
He decided to look for some palm hearts on the island. The dense forest made walking difficult. The small size of the island was a relief. Nathan's path-clearing skills were ideal here, and they managed to gather some palm hearts.
Having food was a relief.
Seeing dark clouds, they rushed back to the shelter to light a fire and boil water. The rain soon poured, with thunder rumbling outside. It seemed like another sleepless night. On the fourth day, they woke up early to improve the shelter's roof. Tenny was covered in mosquito bites over the past few days. Nathan suddenly got puzzled, wondering why the mosquitoes were so unfriendly, biting only Tenny and not him.
Tenny kept hearing buzzing sounds. Didn't they know these weren't wild bees?
Nathan saw a stinger fish by the river and wanted to catch it.
He needed to make a spear to do so.
At home, Nathan would usually use an iron hook, but here he had to make a wooden spear. Making a spear was simple. Sharpen the wood into a point and harden it with fire.
As night falls, the relentless mosquitoes keep them awake. You can see the swarms with the naked eye. Even the thinner ones would be sucked dry by them. On the seventh day, Tenny dared to bathe in the river. Isn't he worried about the stingrays?
The shore is swarming with flying insects, and Tenny is getting bitten everywhere.
Stingrays litter the shore. Nathan crouches with his spear, hunting, but it's tougher than it looks. On the 8th day, Nathan keeps hunting by the shore. If he's even a bit slow, he won't catch anything. By the 9th day, stingrays are still abundant, but harder to catch than expected. Nathan decides to upgrade his spear. He modifies it into a barbed spear, hoping it will be more effective.
On the 11th day, he finally spears a stingray. After numerous failed tries, he finally catches a stingray, providing a hearty meal for the day.
Its tail has a sharp barb. Getting injured by it would be a real setback. They cut the stingray into small pieces and grill it on a wooden rack.
One bite and their mouths are full of fat.
It tastes amazing.
For Nathan, grilled stingray is the best meal since arriving, but its rich texture
is too much for Tenny. It's just too fatty. Tenny has to overcome his mental block to get the energy he needs.
But the more he thinks about it, the more nauseous he feels and he ends up vomiting. Maybe he's not used to wild food. Without seasoning, he can barely eat it and Tenny has to keep forcing it down to last the full 21 days.
They can't rely solely on palm hearts. By the 13th day, the bugs seem to really like Tenny.
They buzz around his ears every second.
The mosquitoes here are as fierce as bees. As a local, Nathan isn't bothered at all.
Every night, Tenny is constantly scratching, while Nathan sleeps like a log.
By the 15th day, Tenny is so plagued by mosquitoes that he can't sleep, making him weak.
Nathan then uses a local method to repel them. He builds an Anasazi shelter for Tenny, similar to the homes of African aid residents, to protect his partner from insect bites. Although it's a big project, Nathan has no choice but to do it to keep Tenny from quitting.
Building this shelter requires burning 2 pounds of fat, wasting that stingray meal. They stick branches horizontally into the ground and cover the top with leaves. This setup keeps mosquitoes out.
They then cover it with sand, leaving a small entrance hole.
It looked very much like a trap.
I just wondered if it would be hot to sleep inside. It was very spacious and felt cooler underground than above. Crucially, there were no mosquitoes inside, making it quite cozy.
Nathan let Tenny sleep there for better rest. I must admit, Nathan is quite thoughtful.
However, Tenny found it a bit stuffy inside and had to step out for air now and then.
If they could solve the ventilation issue, it would be perfect. Although not flawless, it was very effective. Time moved to day 16. Tenny felt extremely weak and desperately wanted to grab something.
Just as he stood up, he felt a sudden dizziness. He fell straight to the ground, driven mad by daily sleep deprivation. It was probably hypoglycemia from malnutrition. By day 18, they continued their routine of catching stingrays at the shore, becoming increasingly skilled at fishing. Every day, along with grilled fish, they ate palm hearts.
Nathan even planned to make wine from them.
They chewed the earth pearls and put the juice on snail shells.
After fermenting overnight, it tasted surprisingly good. I couldn't believe they could eat it. They cooked the stingray meat over the fire instead of using a pan.
Tenny grabbed a piece of the grilled stingray.
He headed to the riverbank to eat.
Watching Nathan, you could see how tasty it was.
Tenny finally got over his mental block. Even though he didn't really like it, he needed to eat the meat. If they had beer, it would be even better. Stingray meat is rich in fat. Those who like it really like it. Time moved to day 20.
Tomorrow was the day of departure, so they had to prepare for it today. They had to make a raft to cross the river, which was easy, just tying sticks together. Early on the 21st day, they took all their gear and headed to the extraction point, lying directly on the small raft. They used their hands and feet to propel themselves, slowly drifting down the river. Fortunately, they safely reached the other side. They survived on the island for 21 days twice, winning the $100,000 prize.
Who will take on the challenge next? Can't wait for the next episode's update.